And welcome to Mary Walter Radio, the live cast. We didn't even have time for any music there because we were chatting behind the scenes, and I didn't even notice the time. So I'm Mary Walter. Welcome to the live cast. I'm so glad you're joining us. And our special guest, you know him, you love him, and he has not been around for a year at least. Lieutenant Colonel Allen West, thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure, Mary. Thank you for having me.
You are so sweet. You're so polite. He is also the executive director of the American Constitutional Rights Union. And what did I write here? What is this congressional? I wrote something else and I can't read my own writing. Anyway, author, many books. Go on Amazon and look for him. And also an advisor to the Afghan National Army at one point in time. So, and you can find him on X at Allen West, Allen, not ALAN. It's ALLEN West. What else did I write here? Something for congressional. Oh, you're a former congressman. That's it.
Yeah, a little something like
that. So I was explaining how a couple of you, I'm sure if you're here and you're wondering where I was earlier on Newsmax, my brand new 2-month-old camera that the IT department put so much work into setting up and buying the camera and doing all of that and all the bells and whistles. And if I had to like tilt the camera down or tilt the camera left or right, I just had like a little thing and I could just, it would go. Just crapped out before my Newsmax hit this afternoon, and they tried to salvage it, the focusing and everything on their end, and they're like, I'm sorry, but we can't. I was like, oh. So we got the old camera back out, and I know I'm way overlit right now, but I can't change that with this camera. So we're just gonna have to pretend that I'm really white because I'm very bright right now. If you have not done so, please subscribe on Rumble, on YouTube. I don't think you subscribe on Getter, but if you do, please do it. Please thumbs up. I do appreciate that. If you could please like the podcast, that is greatly appreciated. Are you showing off now with your camera about how you can move it around?
No, I'm not showing off. I'm not that smart. I'm just a dumb old paratrooper. I was just tilting down the computer screen.
I thought you were showing off because I said I can't do anything with my camera. Then you just go whomp with yours. I thought you were showing off. So tell us what's new and exciting since the last time we saw you. It's been a while.
Yeah, well, I mean, things are going, pretty good. I'm also the chairman for the Dallas County Republican Party, and we're getting ready for what's going to be a very exciting 2026 midterm election. Our primaries will be the first Tuesday in March. Texas is very early. So when you come out of the holiday season, I mean, next thing you know, it's right there upon you.
Yeah.
And the early voting will start 17 February. And we have some pretty interesting races, the Texas Senate race, the Texas AG, Attorney General's race is going to be pretty interesting. A lot of eyes going to be on that. As a matter of fact, the AG race, the debate, the one is only debate for that will be happening here in Dallas on the 17th of February. But as we were discussing off camera, I got diagnosed with osteoarthritis in my right hip last May, and I couldn't get the surgery until the 8th of December. So I am 6 weeks out from having hip replacement surgery, and things are going very well. I couldn't be happier with the progress. And as I was telling you, I actually was able to jog 1.5 miles this morning, and that's pretty important for me to stay in good physical shape. So the goal is to be able to hopefully by the end of February be able to run a good mile, and by the end of March maybe up to 2. But I got to get back into the aircraft and get my parachute back on. So looking at this October to get back, another parachute jump in. I'm kind of freaking out because I won't be able to jump into Normandy this year, but I'll still be going over there in June.
So did you have to get like a special hip that you could jump with? Because when you land, it's got to be pretty hard on like your joints.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the things. I'm going to talk to my orthopedic surgeon, who just happens to be a skydiver, and ask, do you think that you can clear me to be able to jump at the end of the year? And if he says no, I mean, I'll just have to understand and, just go on
Right.
from there. I've had a great, career. I've done 3 jumps over in Normandy, and I'm an Army Master Parachutist, Navy Marine Corps parachutist. So I've had a great time under the parachute silk. So if I'm told I can't do it, don't tell anybody. I'll still try to sneak in one because my grandsons want to see me jump out of airplanes. So
And for them, you'll do it. I
I will.
get it. I get it.
I will.
You're going to wind up back at the doctor and you're going to go, so.
Yeah. Well, can you like adjust this thing a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's hard. It's 6 weeks out of my shoulder reconstruction. I couldn't even lift anything, let alone, do a lot of stuff. And so they say the replacements, oh my God, I cannot believe we're having this conversation. We're so old. The replacements apparently are way better than just having stuff fixed.
Yeah.
But they only last for so long too, right? And then you have to like get another one, right?
Well, the thing is now with the modern technology, especially with hip replacements, with the titanium, the different metals that they use, and the composites that they use for the socket, so that the ball can fit into, you get a lot more longevity with it than normal. When it was back just metal on metal, you had a lot of concerns with that. So, hopefully I will not have to go in and get another type of hip replacement or any other type of procedures. And so I'm just looking forward to a good, healthy life.
Good for you. Yeah, I know someone who had hip replacement in his 40s because he was a triathlete and just beat the crap out of his hips.
Yeah.
And he was up walking that day, up and down, and we saw he was home out of the hospital the same day. And he was, walking back and forth on the front porch, and we walked by. We're like, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, doing his walking.
Well, they want you to do that. I mean, as a matter of fact, after the surgery and you come out of the little coma that you're in and everything, they want you to be able to. Yeah, they want you to be able to walk 220 steps. And I'm just a stupid old paratrooper, so I did 300, and they said, "Well, I guess you can go home now." So.
Overachiever. This is how you got in this position. Do they normally keep you overnight?
No, I mean, if you're having some issues, some problems, I did not have trauma to the hip. I just had the osteoarthritis, so yeah, it wasn't as bad. So yeah, I was able to go home, and my daughter, who is a physician assistant, she helped me in those first 2 weeks in the recovery, which were critical, and so all went well.
Fantastic. You got it made. I mean, you can stay in the hospital for the food because I hear it's great.
Yeah, I'd rather have an MRE.
Yeah. My dad brought those home when we were kids. I sure they were left over from like Korea or Vietnam or one of the, I don't know, but he brought them home. And we thought they were the best things ever as kids. Those
sea rations. Yeah, the sea rations were good. Yeah.
They were chocolate, and the little chocolate things, and you had a thing of peanut butter and you could dip it in. Yeah. And as kids, we thought it was like the best thing ever. The best thing ever was fantastic. As an adult, I probably would think it's horrendous.
No, you wouldn't.
All right, let's see who's here. Shall we see who's here? Now Tax USA, first one in. Just glad to be in my safe space with Barry Walter and friends. Patrick is here. Rebecca is here. Hello, Rebecca. Scott is here. Ron is here. He says on time again. Suze is here. She says, hello, Colonel West.
Howdy.
Gregory, I'm just waiting for Rumble to not be able to verify that I'm actually human. Well, I appreciate you chiming in over on Rumble. Thank you so much. Rumble. Yeah, it's verifying me too, even though it's my live cast. So that's interesting. Mangle's here. What's up, people? Let's see. Hello. Art is here. Fact check true. Chuck Norris wears LTC West pajamas.
That's a stretch.
It's pretty cool again. Hello again from Northern Ireland. I look forward to your show every week. Thank you, Kate. Happy you're here with us. You have never met Lieutenant Colonel West, so this is your first time. There's a first for everyone. Let's see. What does it say? Scott wants to know, maybe you could take some martial arts training where they show you how to stretch your legs real wide and loosen up those hips and see if it goes away. Well, I think he's already had the surgery, but I would assume you're probably pretty well versed in martial arts, right?
No, I never took a
Really?
martial arts. No, no, never took martial arts. When I was in the military, they did take you through combatives training, just some basic hand-to-hand type of stuff, throws, things of that nature, blocking punches, but never took martial arts whatsoever. I kind of believe in that Indiana Jones concept where the guy comes out with a big sword, you just shoot him.
You know, we in the past have had conversations. You were going to get me to jump out of a plane, and I would like it noted that I said it was never going to happen,
It
and
still
I'm
could.
right.
It still
No, it
could.
could not. No, no.
We
Mm-mm,
can do you
not happening.
tandem. We can tandem you. You can be, latched on to someone and look,
No,
it can
I am
happen.
not jumping out of a plane attached to a total stranger. That's insanity.
It wouldn't be a
No one in their right
stranger.
mind would do that.
I'd make
No,
sure he introduces himself.
no. And we've never gone shooting together yet.
We got to go shooting.
We do.
We will go
It's
shooting.
been a
Why
long
don't you
time
put
since.
on a shooting event? I don't know if they allow you to do that in New Jersey where you live, but maybe we can meet
Well,
somewhere that's shooter friendly.
what do you mean a shooting event?
You can host a shooting event, and I can come up and just marry Walter and at a shooting range, and
You could be the draw, Lieutenant Colonel Allen. Well,
I
we
don't
do
know
belong
about
to a
being a
range.
draw.
Yeah,
Say
you would.
again?
You would be a draw. We do belong to a range.
Well, I'll come up.
Why don't you come up anyway?
Yeah, I mean, no real reason to come to Jersey unless I can bring some guns.
Well, that's hard in New Jersey.
Yeah.
They gotta be like 18 steps apart from being able to use them, and in pieces, and the whole bit. It's somewhat ridiculous. All right, we have a lot to talk about. So, what did you think of the operation in Venezuela?
It was an impeccable operation, and it just goes to show that when you have a military where you're not focusing on gender dysphoria, DEI, and all of these other distractions, when they can get back to their core competencies and their mission, they can execute brilliantly. And I think you've seen between the air raid in Iran and this mission in Afghanistan, which is very complex. When you think about, I mean, not Afghanistan, but Venezuela, it's very complex when you look at how far they had to go into the country, the target area. This was not something easy. Even with SEAL Team 6 going after Osama bin Laden, this was a compound that was pretty much so isolated outside of Abbottabad. But this was a compound that was, tucked into the mountains, heavily secured and guarded, and they had to get in there. I think that it also showed that the quote unquote venerable S-300 surface to air Russian missile system, once again, completely is a failure. We saw that in Iran, and now we see it again. But I don't know if you saw that excerpt where someone was interviewing one of the security guards, Maduro, and he talked about the tactics and some of the things that were used against them. These guys were, absolute ultimate professionals. And also hats off to the CIA members who were there on the ground and developed that intelligence so that we could know his battle rhythm, where he was moving to, and what different compounds he was staying in. But without a doubt, someone ratted out Maduro, because to get that specificity, to know exactly his safe house and how much time you had before he could get to that safe house, someone definitely did not want Maduro to stay. But hats off to our United States military, our Delta Force, who are the creme de la creme of special operators, and they're what we call the quiet professionals.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, do you think the woman who's now in charge, Maduro's second, is the one who dimed him out? She did, right? It's her.
I think it's a possibility. There's no doubt. I don't know who in that inner circle, but it was very interesting where initially she was really, as we say down south, bumping her gums and, talking real, boastful like a little banty rooster. And then the next thing you know, I think President Trump said, "You could be next." And she completely changed her tune. And this sends a message all across, our hemisphere. It started out with us going down and saying that we don't want China down there in the Panama Canal Zone. And you saw the Panamanian president say, we're not going to participate in this Belt and Road strategy with China anymore. Now you see this operation, you see us going after those drug boats. And so Colombia, you haven't heard a lot from that president. the Ortegas who are running Nicaragua. I think the message was sent, but also the message was sent to the president of Mexico as well, and that you better take care of this narco terrorist problem issue. We don't have any problem going across border and dealing with this ourselves.
Yeah, no, it definitely. What are we to make of because there's a question here that I have a sneaking suspicion you're going to want to talk about. Someone read your mind. But going back to Venezuela, they said they used some kind of high-pitched sound.
Yes, it was like a sonic
Havana
weapon. Yeah.
syndrome thing. Yeah. I'm okay with that if it just disables people and it doesn't hurt them. But they were vomiting blood and bleeding out their nose and stuff like that. I think they probably had some permanent damage, right?
Well, look, I mean, I was an artillery officer, and one of the things that you use an artillery barrage for is to disorient the enemy and to cause concussions and things of that nature to incapacitate them. So this weapon that they use is what we call a non-lethal weapon, and it's meant to incapacitate the adversary. It doesn't kill them, and they can still recover from that, but it's an immediate effect that you want to have on someone to enable you to not have to engage them in a lethal manner. So I'm sure that there is some lefty that is out there saying, "Oh, it's so bad. It was disproportionate use of weaponry and stuff." In combat, there's no such thing as proportionality. You want to be able to use every single system that you have in your arsenal to render the enemy combat ineffective, and that's exactly what they did.
See, now I'm not a lefty here, but I gotta say that I worry that it's something that does leave lasting damage. You listen to the people who are damaged by Havana, what we're calling Havana syndrome in Cuba, right? It sounds very much like the same thing, and they have lasting cognitive issues and hearing loss. They have a whole bunch of permanent results of it. So it's not going to kill you, but you may lead a miserable life afterwards, So
well, you're alive, but you're alive. The alternate is that you could have gotten a 5.56 or 7.62. And that's the alternative. So again, I would say as a person that has been in combat zones, I would rather see us, use a non-lethal means. Does that mean that the enemy will have some lasting effects? Well, look at the young men and young women who came back from Iraq and Afghanistan suffering from the effects of improvised explosive devices. So,
yeah. I don't know. All right. So let me get back here and get some of these questions. Scott wants to know if you log every single one of your jumps. Do you log every one of your jumps?
Yeah, you have to. I am at 83 total jumps. I had 74, 75 while I was in uniform in the military. And I was a graduate of the United States Army Jump Master School, so that qualified me to be a master parachutist. But I also had an exchange assignment with the United States Marine Corps at Camp Lejeune for 3 years, and I was able to earn my Navy Marine Corps gold parachutist wings as well.
Wow. Short Essentials, aka my classmate from second grade, Jerry, says, "What do you call Mary jumping out of a plane?" Mary shooting. Mangle says, "Come to the Poconos. We just go out in the woods and set up targets. No range fees." Question for you. Oh, Ron says, "It seems I've heard this jumping conversation before." Gregory says, "Should Captain retired Mark Kelly be shown mercy, or should he face a court-martial?"
Yeah, I think without a doubt, you don't have to send it to a court-martial, but I think that the right thing is that this letter of censure, and he should be taken down one rank. When I went through my retirement briefing back in 2004 at Fort Hood, Texas, as a retired United States military officer, you are told that you are still under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is completely different from the civilian judicial system. And the Uniform Code of Military Justice, for a retired officer, you still have to maintain professionalism as an officer because you're being paid. You're still being paid for the rest of your life by the American taxpayer. And there are certain things that you are not authorized to say. And what Captain Mark Kelly, I understand he is a United States Senator. If he wants to be a political ideologue, that's fine. But he is still a retired captain. That's a '06, a full bird colonel equivalent in the Army, the Marines, and the Air Force. There are certain things he has to continue to do according to the Uniform Code of Military Justice. When he tells members of the military that they should not follow quote unquote illegal orders, he is undermining the good order and discipline of the United States military. He is subverting the commander in chief, and he is not authorized to do that. If you want to sit out there and say that Donald Trump is a jerk or whatever, I disagree with this policy or that policy, that's fine. But you do not undermine the authority of the commander in chief. You do not direct members of the military to do something because that again goes against the good order and discipline. So he has violated 2 statutes within the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So I know that he has brought this lawsuit against the Secretary of War and also the Secretary of Navy. That's not going anywhere. He is absolutely wrong, and he can try to hide behind this thing that he's a senator. He is a commissioned officer, a retired commissioned officer, first and foremost. And if he wants to stop using that title, Captain United States Navy, if he wants to resign his commission and not accept a paycheck from the American taxpayers for the rest of his life for his military service, then go out and say whatever to Sam Hill that you want. But he should be held accountable for what he did and what he said.
And he's also getting a paycheck from the American citizen being a senator. So my heart's not really bleeding for him. He doesn't need 2 pensions from the American citizen. So my heart's not really bleeding for him at all. Let's see. Hermit is here and says, welcome, Colonel. The Chinese, Russians, or DSA tried to stop me from joining in, but they failed. He must have been having some technical issues. Jerry says, thank you, Colonel West, for your service, sir. You are a true patriot. Wild Bill says, hello, Queen Mary. Hello to Colonel West, one of my favorite guests.
Very kind.
Yes, one of mine too. Mango loves Colonel West putting on the sarcasm with the wussy voice.
Well, what can I say? It's effective. Hey, look, one of the things that Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals is, to use that sarcasm and humor to get under the skin of your opposition. I think that we need to do that more and more every opportunity we get.
The problem is they're not smart enough to get sarcasm. That's the thing that sucks.
Well, they're just deranged. I mean, when you look at what is happening in Minnesota, which, I want everyone to think about this, that we have people in Minneapolis, who are going out, and it's a federal offense to obstruct, interfere, or impede a federal law enforcement operation. So they're breaking the law. And why are they breaking the law? They're breaking the law because they want to protect people that have broken the law. People that come here illegally into the United States of America, that's a federal offense. That's Title 18, United States Code 1325, unauthorized entry to the country. First time misdemeanor, subsequent times to that, it's a felony. And then on top of that, they're committing crimes. So people are breaking the law to stand up for people that have broken the law. And now the people that are coming down to try to enforce the law, they're standing up against them. And what Tim Walz said, that he wanted to mobilize the National Guard in order to go after ICE, that's kind of like reminding me of Fort Sumter, back when those Southern Democrats, fired cannons at the federal post that there. And this is just the nature of this party. So they have no leg to stand on. Joe Biden, you want to talk about unconstitutional actions, you want to talk about illegal orders. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, Alejandro Mayorkas, they violate their constitutional oath. And they did things that were unlawful, unconstitutional, and allowing people to come into this country legally. They undermine the sovereignty of the United States of America. So I just wish that people would, take a deep breath and really challenge these protesters. Why are you even out here? Because ICE is in your communities because your leadership there releases criminal illegal immigrants back out into the streets instead of keeping them in jails and turning them over to ICE. Sanctuary cities and sanctuary states are unconstitutional. Basically what you're doing, you're breaking the law again. You're harboring people that have broken the law. So I think that's the thing that we should have going out throughout this 2026 midterm election, is that the Democrat Party is the party of lawlessness.
They always have been. They always have been. And the problem is their values are mutable. So they don't care if they're hypocrites. They don't care
Yeah.
because it's anything for power. And I really wish the Republicans would learn how to play like that just a little bit. You know, I bring this up all the time, the Indiana Republicans who refuse to redistrict.
I know.
But California's doing it. But, you know, the Republicans who refuse to get rid of the filibuster. Listen, that's not something I want to see. But Democrats have already said one of the first things we're going to do when we take power is get rid of the filibuster.
Yeah.
And then we're going to make Puerto Rico and DC states, and we're going to
Yep.
put 13 people on the Supreme Court. We're going to do this, and we're going to make sure that you never see power again.
Yeah.
And Republicans are like, yes, but you know, the filibuster is a tradition.
Well, it's that old saying, you don't take a knife to a gunfight. And what Republicans actually do is they bring a plastic spoon to a gunfight. And you have to understand, you know, this adversary that you're up against. Look at Virginia. Look at how this newly you know, sworn in office.
She's a
Governor
Jersey girl.
Spamberger. I mean, you know, I'm running as a moderate. Have you seen some of the things that they're proposing there in the state of Virginia? The state of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, George Mason. I mean, all of these founding fathers, and this is the things that they're doing. I mean, this Marxist leftism. So yes, I think it's so important that we, you know, call these people out now. And it's funny to me because now all of a sudden they're excusing the people breaking into that church and disrupting the church service.
Yeah.
Let me just send a message to, if you have some lefties that are watching your podcast. Do not try that. Do not try that in a church in Texas, okay? Because most of the people in churches in Texas, they're caring, to include the 60-something-year-old woman, okay? So if you try to burst into a church in Texas, you're going to get popped.
Oh, we're going to see it happen in Minneapolis, where they have roving gangs of people now who are harassing white men. Because if they see a white man who just has like a baseball cap on or something, they assume he's ICE and they surround him and they taunt these guys. They were forcing a Hispanic man, maybe a black guy, to take off a USA hoodie because it was a flag hoodie.
Yeah.
And they're like, how dare you wear that hat? And they demanded, and they were surrounding him and grabbing it. They're going to do it to the wrong person.
Yep.
This person's going to feel threatened, and they're going to be legally allowed to carry, and someone is going to get hurt. And then they'll cry victim. They'll, oh my gosh, they had no right to do that. Just like they're doing to this poor ICE agent who was hit by a woman who was breaking the law. Yes. And who hit him with the car. But none of that matters. Well, she had her tires turned when she hit the gas. I'm like, no, she hit him.
She hit him. And that was the second time he's been hit.
Yes. Exactly. They're insane. So just, you know, the music you heard playing there is I went to Fox and they have that autoplay because I saw a story. We were talking about Tim Walz, and he invited President Trump today to visit his state to see our values in action. They've been going back and forth, obviously. And he said, Mr. President, Minnesota invites you to see our values in action. Come see how communities from all walks of life are working together and see how the spirit of this state refuses to be defined by division of fear. I invite you to join me and others in our community to help restore calm and order and reaffirm that true public safety comes from shared purpose, trust, and respect. I'm 100% sure Trump's going to tell him to stuff it.
Yeah, I mean, he absolutely should, because if you want to talk about shared values, if you want to talk about, you know, this purpose, then don't release criminal, illegal immigrants out of the jails onto the streets. I think the number is like 10,000 that they have been able to apprehend there in Minneapolis, that area, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and 3,000 just recently. You know, let's put that in numbers military-wise. 10,000, that's about the size of a light infantry division in the Army. 3,000 is the size of a light infantry brigade or regiment. That's a lot of people. And you're talking about folks that are out there committing crimes, murder, rape, child pedophiles. I mean, all these different types of things. We haven't even gotten to the Somali fraud, but we've got to do something because we cannot have two different Americas. I remember when John Edwards was running for president out of South Carolina, he talked about two different Americas. Well, for the left, the two different Americas are that we don't respect sovereignty. We don't respect the rule of law. We just respect our own ideological agenda. And if you do not accept our ideological agenda, we will fight you. We are in an ideological civil war. without any
Yes.
doubt. But we're at that tipping point. If we don't restore the rule of law and the respect of the rule of law, if we allow them to continue to have this lawlessness and actually reward them for it, we're going to see a lot of problems, a lot of issues.
Yeah. Did you hear that? What is that? What is that? Do you hear
I'm
that
going to
weird
do
audio?
I'm going to do the Sergeant Schultz thing. I hear nothing. I hear nothing. Hogan?
You didn't hear that? I just heard one of the tabs I had opened to talk to you about must have just started playing something. I don't understand why, but it must have just. I hate that autoplay thing. It's annoying. So you had mentioned, and I pulled this story because I thought it'd be interesting to discuss with you. And I was going to save it to the end, but you had mentioned the people on the left, and you said these people are mentally ill. And I have to say, I always like, yeah, they're not mental. I don't like to call people mentally ill. They're background crazy. These people are I firmly believe that the woke mind virus exists. It infects them. I don't know. I wonder if it was something in the COVID vaccine. And these people have each had 18 boosters. So that's why it's worse for them, because they just keep getting more and more of whatever the weird juice is that makes them go bonkers, right? So, all right, listen to this. An experiment was run to test if a testosterone administration would influence the political preferences of 136 healthy males. So they either got a synthetic testosterone or a placebo, and it was administered to participants who identified the strength of their political affiliation. So they were like weakly affiliated Democrats, weakly affiliated Republicans, strongly affiliated Democrats, strongly affiliated Republicans. Okay. Before the testosterone treatment, they found that weakly affiliated Democrats. Are you coming to say hello?
No, I'm off my call if you need.
Okay, thank you. The IT department checking in. Before the testosterone treatment, they say we found that weakly affiliated Democrats had a 19% higher basal testosterone level than those who identified strongly with the party. All right, so weakly identified Democrats, 19% stronger testosterone level than those who identify strongly with the party. All right. When weakly affiliated Democrats received additional testosterone, the strength of their party affiliation fell by 12%. And they reported 45% of them reported feeling warmer feelings towards Republican candidates for president. Testosterone administration did not affect political preferences for strongly affiliated Democrats or strong or weak Republicans. So it only affected the Democrats who were like, yeah, kind of Democrat, and they became, the more testosterone they got, the more likely they were to like the presidential candidate for president. What does that say, the Republican? What does
it's the difference. It's the difference between men and males. I just have to put it, and then eunuchs. I'm just going to be very honest, because I look at someone like a Jacob Fry. I don't think he would. That type of guy would ever jump from an airplane and storm the beaches of Normandy. He's just not going to do that. Maybe he'll hang back in the back and issue out bandages or something like that. But there is an incredible difference. I mean, a lot of these, strong leftist males, they go out and they, beat their chest and everything like that. But when confronted, they back down. And when you have a strong, conservative man that goes toe to toe with one of them, I mean, the results is pretty easy to see. So I do think that there is a serious delusion. There is a serious derangement. There is no cognitive reasoning. There is no critical thinking skill there whatsoever.
No.
But for whatever reason, they think that, as I saw some of the tapes of those people that stormed into the church, this guy get into the face of the pastor. I mean, I guess all of a sudden he felt empowered, but he would never do something like that with a guy like me. Or some of the guys that I serve with and continue to hang out with. So I don't know. I think that there is something to do with the masculinity and the testosterone. Look, I still ride a nice Indian Challenger motorcycle. It's about 1,800 cc's. You're never going to see me on a scooter.
In skinny jeans, right?
No, ain't happening.
You should get a nice pair to show off your new hip.
No,
No.
no.
I just thought that that was hilarious. And I pulled this story to talk to you about because I just thought it was so funny that all they have to do is give a little testosterone and you get a red shift among these Democrat males. And, you know, they're just, this is why you see, I get it kind of now why liberal women are usually either single or lesbians, right? Because look at the men. The men are more feminine than they are. Their women are more manly than the men are, and the men are more feminine. It's really an odd combination. I want to go back to the church though, because I know we don't have a ton of time, but I want to go back to the church quickly. Do you think, like you said, they would never pull that with you? They would never pull that with some of the guys you hang out with. They would never pull that in a mosque. They
No.
would try to pull it in a temple, but temples usually have a ton of security. I think that they purposely chose a predominantly white Christian church because they knew that they could intimidate white people, because white people have been cowed into submission, because if you say anything, you're racist.
Well,
right?
there's certain white people. I would say certain white people.
Well, yeah, I would have taken one of those chairs and been like Jesus in the temple.
Yeah.
But with my husband going, stop it, you're going to get arrested. Stop it, you're going to get arrested.
No, I mean, you wouldn't get arrested because they had come into that church, into that sanctuary, and you had every right to protect yourself. Look, I think, and it's the same thing that you see on the battlefield. The enemy is always going to go after that path of least resistance. They're going to try to find that gap that they can exploit, that weak point, and that Achilles in their adversary. And so that's what the left will do. And again, you don't hear or see any of these stories coming out of Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas. I mean, Kansas, Arizona. You don't see these stories. You see these stories coming out of Minneapolis, St. Paul. You see these stories coming out of Seattle. You see these stories coming out of Portland. You don't see these stories coming out of Eastern Oregon, where, those big, lumberjack kind of guys hang out. So again, I think that the left is concentrating themselves in these major urban population centers that, accepts this foolishness and this craziness. But that's how we have to start looking at. We can't allow these two different Americas to exist, and we have to hold them accountable, and there have to be consequences for their lawlessness.
Do you think there will be consequences, though? Harmeet Dillon is the one who's taking this up, and not Pam Bondi. Have you seen Pam Bondi by any chance? So you know where she is?
I mean, there are a lot of things that need to be done, and again, the message has to be sent to governors and to mayors. Sanctuary cities is unconstitutional. You are actually an accomplice to a crime. You're complicit in that crime. You're a harbinger. If Mary Walter, willfully and intentionally had a person that had committed a crime in her house, and you are an accessory to that crime. It's no different from these people that are saying, oh no, if you're a criminal legal immigrant, you can hang out here, like what they're proposing in Virginia now. So I think it's very important that we start to hold these elected officials on the other side accountable to this. They can scream, they can whine, whatever they say, but you cannot have these two different Americas.
Well, we would actually have to arrest someone, or I don't know, charge them, instead of just doing constant investigations and hearings.
Yeah, I'm tired of that.
Republicans would actually have to do something. So
yeah.
I'm not, my hopes are not high with that at all. But that's what needs to happen, because they're allowed to flout the law, and then they just keep doing it because they know they can. These people are not afraid. None of these people who are protesting and getting arrested, they fully expect to be bailed out by China, Soros, whomever, some deep state group, and they'll be bailed out, and then they'll get back on the bus to go home to wherever they are. And then the charges will be dropped, just like they are every time, and nothing's going to happen. So we'll see what happens. I want to go to Iraq. Iraq announced a full withdrawal of U.S. forces from their federal territory. This had started in 2023. We started withdrawing troops. We've been drawing down for several years, and finally, all done. But except in the autonomous Kurdistan region, we still have troops there.
Yeah.
Good thing?
Yeah, I mean, we should go where we are accepted, where we're wanted. We have troops that are operating there in Syria. I know that we have some in Jordan, and like you said, in Kurdistan. Uh, that goes back to when 2003, when I was there in Iraq. The Kurdish people have always been very pro-American, very accepting. They do not want. I mean, you're talking about the world's largest ethnic minority, ethnic group that does not have its own homeland. The Kurds. They have a separate culture, separate language, everything. And so I think that we should continue to have those security arrangements and relationships with them. So yeah, I mean, Iraq, you don't want us there, that's fine. But the Kurdish people want us there in the northern part of Iraq. And I think that's good because it's a bulwark between Erdogan and what he seeks to do. He's an Islamist there in Turkey, and then also Iran, and then keeping an eye on ISIS and what could happen, in those areas of Syria as well. So you kind of have to always have a deterrent. You have to have a footprint, because if you completely withdraw from these places, it's just like if you turn the lights off, the cockroaches come out. So you have to kind of keep the lights on. You don't have to have a huge presence, but you have to have enough that keeps the opposition on their heels.
Maybe we could give the Kurds, since they don't have a homeland, can we just give them Gaza, because we're going to clean that out, right?
I tell you what, you gave the Kurds Gaza, man. That would be a jewel of a place. But look, that's their ancestral homeland up there. And again, I think that we should look at more economic development. And I'll tell you, a very oil-rich area up there in Kurdistan.
Didn't Bill Clinton screw them over? Didn't he tell them? Yeah, he screwed them over big time. Yeah, that's what I thought. And how the heck they still trust the United States is beyond me, because we screw these people over all the time. I wouldn't trust anything the United States government told me. Yeah, I don't, as a matter of fact. So.
Well, I think that, I don't know exactly what the Trump administration is doing, but I think that there's a lot better relations with this administration than, of course, with the Biden administration, the Obama administration.
Well, yes, just like we have a better relationship with Israel. We actually have a relationship with Israel, one that does not insist that we demean them and try to, tell them they can't have a homeland. Yeah. Art, who's having, by the way, in a bromance with my husband, the IT department. He said, my wife and I live a bit east of Waco. We go to South Oklahoma. I mean, Dallas. Yeah. Is there any way to shake your hand? I voted for you for governor, so I'm entitled. Ha ha.
Well, yeah. I mean, I live in Garland, Texas, just to the east of the city of Dallas proper. So we can, I'm sure, figure out a way and go somewhere and have some barbecue and sit down and commiserate over things.
Art's good people, so I can vouch for Art. So he's not, it's not like you'd be meeting up with some psycho, and he brags about how great his barbecue is.
Uh-oh.
So he brags about it. He's invited us down many times for barbecue. So
you got to come down, Mary. You got to come down and do a live cast down here in Texas.
Maybe we could do one and have Art make his barbecue.
That'd be great.
Ooh, maybe we'll go on the road.
You should go on the road and go down to Waco. Waco, the Brazos River, which is like the Texas River, runs through Waco, and this. I think that'd be pretty historic for you to come down.
Will you join us? You'll join us,
of course, right? I would. I mean, Waco is just about an hour and a half away. I'd be right there.
And then we could maybe go halfway between Waco and where you are, or more towards where you are, so you don't have to drive as far. And then we could go shooting.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a great, I think it's the Republic shooting range down there in Waco. I bet they'd be happy to host you there.
Oh, we can have some. All right, we'll talk. You and I are going to talk. I can't shoot a rifle though because of my shoulders. Governor.
No, but I tell you what, I have the perfect rifle for you. I have a fully suppressed 9mm carbine that you won't even know that you pulled the trigger. So I'll bring it down.
My husband stands behind me to keep my shoulder in the socket when I shoot the rifle. He just holds it.
You'll be fine with that fully suppressed 9mm carbine.
All right. Don't tease me. Sal says, Colonel Walsh he directs this to you. Colonel Walsh wants to put Minnesota National Guard against ICE officers. I think he might be looking for a shootout with ICE. Can he legally order the guard to engage federal officers?
No, he can't. And again, that would be a federal violation and offense because, and that's also coming back to Article 6, Section 2 of the United States Constitution, known as the Supremacy Clause. When the federal government is operating in pursuance thereof to the Constitution, to the rule of law, they are supreme over states and local lower jurisdictions. That's what the Constitution calls it. So no, he cannot call up the National Guard to go in and do what the federal government is supposed to do in Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, the Guarantee Clause, which is the guarantee to every state and union to protect them from invasion. That's why I say what Joe Biden did and Kamala Harris was unconstitutional. They opened up the borders and undermined our sovereignty. So again, you know, the fact that Tim Walz would say something as insidious as that, you know, here's a guy who used to be a United States congressman. You would think he'd know a little bit about the Constitution. Obviously, he doesn't.
No, obviously. Sal says, sadly, Republicans need to either grow or borrow a certain part of human anatomy, and I don't mean a spine either.
I know where you're going, brother. They call them cojones down here in Texas.
Cojones, yes, false. Porchview Farm says, my brother-in-law, that side of the family is liberal. All right. So she says, my brother-in-law gets grants to do his training and action organizing. It cannot be hard to figure out the money.
No. And you know, you got to cut it off. And I think that's what the left got so upset about when they went after USAID, because that was the trough where all these leftist organizations were going and getting taxpayer money from.
Yeah. They definitely have to follow the money. And I know it passes through, you know, NGO, this group, that group before it finally gets, but also like these people who are showing up and there's a guy named Nate Friedman on X, and he goes to these rallies and he takes pictures and he eventually identifies them all and goes, oh, here she is in Spokane, here she is in Seattle, here she is in Memphis, here she is here she's that. These people are getting paid.
Yes.
They've got to be filing tax returns, and if they're not filing tax returns, well, there you go. You know, that's how they got.
Well, this is where you would think that the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, and look, I'm not a lawyer or anything like that, but this is a RICO case where you start looking at the people that are funding this, and you cut off and you tie them to all of these unlawful and unconstitutional actions that are going on. So, I mean, I don't know why we haven't done anything like this. I mean, George Soros, I mean, we know the things he's doing. George Soros is doing things to undermine this nation, this country. This is, I mean, it's seditious. It's even treasonous what he's doing.
100%. Yeah. But I just don't have any, I think Pam Bondi's in over her head. I think, and I've heard things from people that you would know, that she's in over her head. She isn't experienced enough, and people are trying to help and say, look, we got this, we got that, and she's just shooting everything down. And so, you know, they opened up the fraud department within the DOJ, not under her. Did you notice? She's not in charge of it. Someone else is. Harmeet Dillon is in charge of Minneapolis and prosecutors, not Pam Bondi. And I think that Donald Trump hired her with big expectations. And I think he obviously knows that she's not performing, I would think. But he won't get rid of her. She won't resign. And he can't get rid of her because he's afraid he can't get another AG pick through. So then he's stuck if he fires her and can't get another one through. He doesn't have an AG. So it's all right. So Gregory says, do the different state GOP chairs meet to discuss strategy? Gregory asks great questions. I have a feeling that the Virginia Republican leaders are sorely in need of new ideas.
Well, quarterly, I used to be the Texas state chairman. Quarterly, you have these meetings where they come together and they're supposed to do these things. I wish that they would not meet at these highfalutin, hotels and resorts. They need to meet at some military base and stay in some barracks and, get out some whiteboards and everything like that. But that's one of the tough things about Republicans is that we don't always have that long range strategy like the left does. I mean, we go from election cycle to election cycle and think that we're doing well. And the other thing about our side is that we ramp up for an election and then we go and we come down into the valley. You got to find a steady state of operations, because these people don't leave the battlefield. And you have to stay out on that battlefield. You have to be vigilant. So no, I would tell you that when I look at the RNC structure and these meetings that they're having, they really don't have a long-term strategic vision other than political races. And that's just not what you need to have, an ideological vision.
It is so annoying that it has taken them all these years. Everybody else, the rest of us out here have caught on to this, and the National hasn't, for whatever reason. They haven't caught on. They're like, well, we're getting our messaging out. Just follow GOP.org, whatever. I'm like,
well, I will tell you, Mary, why don't you get the Republican National Committee chairman to come on your podcast, Joe Reuters out of Florida. Have him come on your podcast and ask him the tough questions. Have your people ask him the tough questions. Because if we don't have people that have this strategic vision, we're always chasing the other side. I mean, one of the first questions I'd ask them is, have you read Rules for Radicals? Because if you haven't read Rules for Radicals, that's their playbook.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'm writing this down, as you can tell. I'm going to see if I can do that. Because I had a representative from the GOP on today when I was in for David Webb, and she just danced around the questions. It was really dissatisfying. I was just like, I was just, okay, you have no message. No, we think we're really getting our message out well. And just go to, she gives me the website. And there were people in the comments, because I tell people, to tag me on X. If you want to make a comment, you can't call in. And so they'll make comments during the interviews. And so he goes, well, who is she kidding? Why do I have to go to their webpage to find out what their message is? They're supposed to be messaging to me.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to go to a webpage to find out what their message is. It's very bad. Let's see. Manglemush says, common sense and common courtesy. People need to grow a sack. Okay, we're not going there. Do you read this? Are you reading this?
I am reading it. Scooters and fat women.
Go ahead, read it out loud.
That's hilarious. I tell you what, hey, my friend, you will never catch me on either one of those.
Okay, so Alan, if you remember, he said you never catch him riding a scooter. So Manglemush says, what do scooters and fat women have in common? They are both fun to ride until your friends catch you. I'm sorry. Sal says the Christian church needs to stop turning the other cheek. Porch Reform says none of this is happening in West Virginia. Hermit Sal, sanctuary governors and mayors don't care, perhaps until federal funding is suspended. They have the drive-by media back to back them up. The problem is every time Trump tries to suspend money for something, the Democrats sue and say only Congress can do this. It has been allocated by Congress. You have to put that money out. And they go to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court says Congress holds the purse strings, which is true. Congress holds the purse strings. But Republicans, like with this latest thing that they just passed, Doge had recommended cuts, and they didn't cut anything that Doge recommended cutting.
I know. Well, and again, the chief executive officer of the executive branch is the president of the United States of America. So the president of the United States of America can withhold those funds. Just because the Congress appropriates those funds to the executive branch, it doesn't mean that the executive branch has to use those funds. I mean, they can return those funds back to the American taxpayer, back into the Treasury. So I think that, again, people need to understand that whole appropriations process. Yes, you give the money over to, but that doesn't mean that they have to spend it. Now, they cannot overspend that money, but they can definitely just say, no, we're just going to hold on to this. And at the end of this budget cycle, we'll return it back to the Congress, to the Treasury, and you can look at the next cycle, how you want to reappropriate that. But again, I think the other side of this is that you cannot have governors and mayors that are doing things that are unconstitutional and unlawful. If the left is upset with these things, then change the law. But you can't sit up and say, no, We want to have illegals and we want to harbor criminal illegal immigrants and aliens. No, you cannot do that. And as a matter of fact, one of the things, the legislative proposals that they're looking at in the state of Virginia is a law that says that their state and local law enforcement cannot work with federal law enforcement to get criminal illegal immigrants out of the state of Virginia. You can't do that. That is a violation of the supremacy clause. And so someone needs to pick up a phone or just walk across the Potomac River and go down to Richmond and say, Governor Spanberger, you're in violation of the Constitution. Here are the ramifications thereof.
Yeah, but nobody will because they don't have the guts to do it. I don't know why. No one. I'll do it. I'll go do it. You want me to do it? I'll do it. Why not? You and I will do it together. You be the muscle, all right? You got a new hip. I got two bad shoulders.
Hey, we'll roll in on my motorcycle because I know you won't parachute. You won't parachute in with me, so we'll just roll in.
I've never ridden a motorcycle. My husband, who was an EMT for a long time, calls them donor cycles. So he doesn't have
that's the crotch rocket kids. I mean, I have a nice big bagger, a cruiser. I'm not out there, zipping out in between traffic on the interstate or popping wheelies. That's not what I do.
That would be fun to watch you do that, though. I would
Pop a
ride a
wheelie?
motorcycle with you.
No way.
So Sal says a barbecue live stream, and Art just says, OMG. I think he is totally fanboying over you. Mengelmush says the Colonel can parachute into the Texas barbecue.
No, well, I mean, what we could do is we can have a motorcycle ride from up here where I live in Garland down to Waco. We could have it there, like I said, at the Republic shooting range, and you could do a live stream from there, and we can have Art bring the barbecue. I think we got an event for you. Springtime, we got an event before it gets too hot.
Art even says Lieutenant Colonel and ITG's wife, the IT guy. I have 26 acres and a big meat budget. If it ran, crawled, or swam at one point in its life, I'll barbecue it. Even if it has to be meeting up, I'm in. LTC is a hero of mine. That's nice. Art's good people. He's
good
really
stuff.
Good Sue says, I just couldn't have more love and respect for Colonel West. Thank you, sir, for your service, patriotism, and knowledge. God bless you. Mangelmush says, I'm sorry, I have a sophomoric sense of humor, but that was a funny joke. Okay, here's a question for you. What are your thoughts on one, Attorney General's race, and two, Texas GOP senatorial race? I'm not a big Chip Roy guy, and I like Wesley Hunt.
I really believe, let's talk about the senatorial race first. We just had Wesley Hunt at our Dallas County GOP headquarters last week for like a town hall meet and greet. I moderated the town hall. I started off with about 10 questions, and he nailed them. And I'm not the kind of guy that's going to ask you a layup question. So I think he is very astute. He has a clear vision. He understands policy and legislation. And I think that the Texas senatorial race will go to a runoff. I really do, between Representative Wesley Hunt and the current Attorney General, Ken Paxton. That runoff will be in May. I think John Cornyn doesn't have a chance, and he's lagging way behind. Spent $70 million, and he's only polling a little over 20%. So that's that's not a good return on the investment. As far as the Attorney General's race, I think that you will once again see a runoff between Chip Roy and maybe Aaron Reitz, R-E-I-T-Z. But Chip is going to win the grassroots. There's no doubt about it. One of the big feathers in the hat of Chip Roy is that he is very attuned to this Sharia law issue. Especially here in the state of Texas. He started that anti-Sharia law caucus up there in Washington, D.C. in our United States Congress. And that is really, giving him a bit of a leg up here. We will have the Attorney General's debate up here, Art, in Dallas on February the 17th. So if you want, go to the Dallas GOP website and we'll get information out on that. Maybe you can drive up and I'll see you there at that Attorney General debate.
Yeah, and definitely, Art, go up and introduce yourself if you do go to that. The problem, it sounds to me, with all of these people is they all have name recognition, and that's really hard because the name recognition is what wins. But Wesley Hunt and Ken Paxton and Chip Roy, all of them have name recognition. Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out, because I don't really think that comes into play as much, which is good because it means people actually have to learn about the issues and where these people stand. which I think is fantastic. All right. Herman Sal says maybe you can arrive at a World War II glider.
Well, I have jumped. I have, let's see, 6 jumps. I have a C-47 aircraft that actually flew back on D-Day 80 some odd years ago. And it's an incredible experience to be on one of those aircrafts, sitting there where those paratroopers from the 82nd and 101st, they jumped into, those hours before the D-Day landing. So one of those C-47s is based out of here in Texas. Another one is based down out of the Space Coast area in Fort Lauderdale, not Fort Lauderdale, but Melbourne, somewhere along there in Florida. So there's something special about seeing those C-47 aircraft take off and drop paratroopers. So
I would prefer to land with them, not jump out of them. Manglemush says for motorcycles, cruisers are the way to go, and always keep both wheels on the ground.
that's right.
Porch View agrees with Sue, says you are a national treasure.
You're too kind. You're too kind.
Ron says motorcycle, no pocket rockets for me. I have a Norton Commando. That means nothing to me. What's a Norton Commando? Does that mean something to you?
I don't know what a Norton Commando is because I'm an Indian guy. Before Indian, I had oh gosh, I just forgot the bike that I had. Victory, the Victory, which was also American made. So those are the lines that I pretty much so enjoy.
All right, Herman says thank you for appearing tonight and entertaining our questions.
No, my pleasure.
Sir, and your service. Salute. You remind me of one of my COs. Mangle says, thank you, Colonel West. Bless you. And keep that bike upright. All right.
Upside down.
Yes, keep. So you've given me some thoughts, so maybe I'll give you a call. All right.
And you have my number, so please share it with Art and so we can link up. But let's think about a Texas event for you, Mary, to come down here and do a live cast.
Yeah, I think we can have some fun with something coming up. So we'll have to do that. I'll talk. It depends on when I'm getting my shoulder done. So that will play into it. Although, what do I have to do, right?
Nothing. You don't have to lift anything.
Yeah, I don't have to lift anything. And so yeah, I like this. I'm so glad we did this. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
All right. Have a good one. Thank you so much. God bless. We'll talk soon. All right, everybody. Tomorrow, just so you know, I will be on with Todd Starnes on the Todd Starnes Show on N2. So that's on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com and look for on Newsmax 2. And you can watch that probably in the 5 o'clock hour, probably about 5:15-ish. Not 100% sure. I don't have any other television coming up, but that can change throughout the week. And I don't have any radio coming up. I don't know what to do with myself. I may have a day where I'm going to the can sale tomorrow at ShopRite after physical therapy. So that's exciting because you can get 10 cans of Progresso soup for $11. It's $1.10 a can. It's great. And you can also get 4 cans of Campbell's Chunky for 4 cans for $5. So that's fantastic. So I'm going to hit the can sale. That's my big day tomorrow. But it's actually exciting having some free time. I don't know what to do with myself. All right, everybody, thank you so much. God bless you. Please, please, please subscribe. Please hit the thumbs up. Please like the podcast. All right. It would make me very, very happy. And I'll meet you all here again on Tuesday. Have a great day. Bye.
Walter Radio on the air tonight, strap in. She's on